We'll be talking about 9 steps to create multiple streams of passive income. And this is going to be a video for beginners. And as you can tell, I am looking at my screen here and reading my notes, which means that this is a live video. And for all of you guys that I know will be watching this after the has already been filmed live, you guys are really lucky because I'm going to be separating this video into 3 main parts. You're going to chapters. The first section, we're going to talk about the actual definition of what multiple streams of income actually means, because a lot of people are just throwing out that term these days without actually knowing what it means. Next, we're going to be talking about passive income, what that actually means, and then finally, we are going to go into the 9 steps on how I would recommend getting there. And of course, a lot of this is my own personal experience. When I make videos like these, I feel like I am speaking to the younger version of myself. And when I was thinking about what to speak on today, this came up and I was like, I would have loved that was all encompassing about multiple streams of income, passive income, and how to get that 5 years ago, 7 years ago. So that is what today's video is going to be about. All right, let's get into multiple streams. So what is multiple streams of income? I have it written down here that multiple streams of income basically refers to having several different sources of revenue. So rather than having income come from one place, all it means is that you're getting income coming in from a variety of different sources. The reason why people put high priority on having multiple streams of income these days is so that you're not solely relying on one person, one business, one employer to fund your entire life. Because if that stream goes away, you have no backups, right? So that is why there's such a heavy importance placed on diversifying these days, diversifying your streams of income. Examples of multiple streams of income could be really coming from anywhere. So it could be coming from multiple different employers. It could be coming from real estate. It could be coming from, stock income, investment income, etc. Where passive income comes in, now let's talk about that definition. Passive income is, by definition, a type of income requires little to no effort to maintain after the initial work is done to get that income. So that is why it's referred to as passive, because you're not actively having to do work in order to make money. So multiple streams of income, you can have multiple streams of income, and some of those streams can be active and then some of those can be passive, right? So examples of passive income, it is important for me to put a little note here and say that real pure passive income is kind of hard to come by these days, just due to a lot of things that people refer to as passive income these days are not as passive as they may seem. So for example, a lot of people say that they are trying to generate more income passively through acquiring real estate assets and real estate property, and make income passively through getting rental income from their tenants, which is way more of a passive way to acquire income than to actually put your time and energy into going into an office and working 9 to 5 in order to get that income. So it is much more passive, yet it still requires some work. It requires the work of finding a place, buying it, that's the initial work, but then there's consistent work of maintaining your tenant and doing upgrades when needed on the home, for example. So it's not pure passive, but it is a more passive stream than, classic 9 to 5 work. A pure passive income, one example that I came up with is dividends from investments into stocks or mutual funds, which we'll get into later on. But this is a type of passive income because your money is put into a stock or a place where you don't need to touch it, you don't need to do anything. Once you have found somewhere to put your money is growing and growing, and that is income that is coming to you passively. You don't need to do work. So In essence, multiple streams of income can include both active and passive forms, while passive is specifically about earnings that require minimal ongoing, in a nutshell. All right, now let's transition into talking about the 9 steps to, as a beginner, to venture the passive income and the multiple streams of income space. Again, this is kind of based on my personal experiences, and as well as I've read so many books on these topics, watched a lot of videos, and scoured the internet. So as a beginner, this is definitely something that I would take into consideration and implement if you are trying to head in this direction. First thing to do is to identify your skills right now. So why this matters is because it's really important to understand what you enjoy and to consistently be reflecting on what you are good at, what your skills are, your strengths are, and what may be holding you back. And the reason being, because every investment that you make in your life is going to be made by you, made by your brain, and it's really important to know areas in which you might be biased and areas in which you can improve so that you are consistently improving. And that is the only way that your assets, your investments, and your ability to earn more is going to, if you are aware of yourself and consistently improving yourself. So the first thing to do is to reflect on, what do you like? Who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Maybe your biggest strength is that you can really read a book really well. Like, I think that is one of my biggest strengths, for example, is that really well. So knowing that, I often pick up a book, learn what I need to do, rather than watch a video. I know that one of my greatest weaknesses is I will sit in front of a video, like a video, a movie, anything. If I do not fully focus and write notes on that video and then literally schedule it into my calendar to implement, I will completely forget what was in that video. And I know that of my challenges. So I stay away from absorbing information so first thing you got to do is self-reflect. See, where do you really excel and where do you find the most challenges, and make sure that you are working in alignment with what works for you during all of these steps. Second step is to build a primary income source first. So right now, as I'm speaking, I think this whole video is going to apply to anyone who is interested in generating income passively in multiple streams of income. But I am kind of picturing someone in their maybe early to mid 20s that I'm speaking to. And at this point, especially, I think it is really important to ensure that you have primary income source coming in so that you have cash that you are generating that you can play with, in a sense, so that you can learn about investments and you can learn about investing in yourself mentally and physically in different ways, because you have that primary income source. So that primary income source typically would come from an employer. It could come from a business that you start. It could come from really any, but it needs to be a consistent income. I also, because I am currently in my mind speaking to someone in their early 20s, think it's important to highlight that when you have a primary income source, and when you are working for an employer, let's say, it is okay for you to be not making as much money as you could in this primary income source, as long as you are in a place where you are developing and learning in some way. At this point, when you're in your early 20s, when you're in your mid 20s, in your 20s in general, it's so vital to be investing in your mental capacity and your ability to learn rather than just making money, because you have your whole life to make money. Your biggest asset is your brain. So build out a primary income source that not only gives you money, but also is teaching you something. Third step is to start investing in low-risk passive income options. So this video is not to go into detail on what exactly you should invest on. Like, I'm not a financial advisor in that way, but it is at this point where you have self-reflected and you have a primary source of income that I do think it is important to start experimenting with different forms of investing. So there are a variety of different ways that you can invest, but some of the most popular ones include real estate and stock investment. At this point, if you're still young and just maybe not even young, but just acquiring money at this point and you don't have a ton to play with, you're probably going to venture into stocks rather than real estate because you need a lot of capital to get into real estate in the first place. At number 3, start with low risk passive income options. What I mean by that is take some of that primary income and invest it in a way to further your education on how to make income passively. So for example, the way that I did that is I downloaded this app, Wealth Simple. You probably heard of it. It is, in my opinion, the most simple app to use in terms of like investing in stocks. And at this point, I'd recommend, pulling like $500, depending on where you are in your primary income, pulling that out, putting it into something like Wealth Simple or something where you can play around with the stock market or a different type of investing that you want, and do this with the intention not to make money, just to take $500 and use it as play money, use it to learn how the investing actually works, the processes, what you need to look for, identify trends, and of course, all of this, you should be educating yourself, whether that's watching videos, reading books, all of it. Very important. So that's number 3. And throughout this whole process, I do want to say that the books I am basing this off of include the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, and I talk a lot about these books in my other YouTube videos. I think that they are really essential books to read, especially if you are a beginner and you actually want to improve your life in terms of income and passive income and multiple streams of income. Specifically, the Rich Dad Poor Dad number 1 and number 2. So I would definitely check that out. Step number 4 is to create digital products. This is not for everyone, but this is something that I did. What I mean by digital products are exactly what it sounds like, that you can sell online. Digital products could include courses or even physical products that you are selling online, which are not technically digital products itself, but starting a side business on the internet is like one of the easiest things you can do to learn about how to start a business these days, because it is free to do so. All you need to do is start like a free social media account, maybe a free Instagram account. You've already reflected on your likes, your interests, and so creating a business around that. I won't get into too many details on that because I actually do have a number of videos on my channel regarding that. So look into those if you are interested, and you can also stalk my Instagram. I talk a lot about that on there. Number 5 is to explore rental income or explore areas of passive income that have less accessible to you in the past. This is number 5. And so what I mean by that is income that you haven't, or markets that you haven't necessarily been able to tap into because you have not had a lot of money in the past, but at this point you should have generated a couple of different sources of income. So you are venturing into that multiple sources of income, because through steps 1 to 4, you have a primary source of income, maybe through your employer. You have started that digital product or that small business side. You've educated yourself, not just through reading and through watching videos, but also through taking just a little bit of money and playing with smaller investments and learning through experience. It is at this point where you have built these systems in place and have a little bit of consistent income where you can start venturing into the larger investments that can make you passive income, substantial passive income in future. So one example of this is rental income. Now, it's only step 5. I don't expect you to just jump in and buy a house. But what I mean by exploring is you start watching videos on this type of passive income, maybe you start going to open houses, you start talking to real estate agents, you just start putting yourself in that space and opening your mind to that possibility. Then we're transition to step 6, which is to monetize your existing assets or hobbies. So for example, maybe you have a car, which is actually not an asset liability. Again, if you don't know what I mean by that, definitely pick up the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. But say you have a car, or you have multiple cars, and you do really like your car, you don't want to sell it, but that is something that you could potentially rent out. Let's say you could join, there's actually a lot of apps for renting out your cars on a daily basis if that's something you want. Or let's say your hobby is photography, like just starting to do freelance photography on the side. Maybe your YouTube channel is something you do for fun. I have a lot of people on here that watch me that are just small YouTubers, but just being a YouTuber and posting, even if you are monetized, is not necessarily a business. I don't, in my personal opinion, because it is not a consistent, steady income. So monetizing that in a broader way would be maybe creating a course that you sell on the back end of your YouTube channel, or a product like a journal or coffee or whatever it is that you create and you sell on the back end. And that is another source of income that you have, right? At this point, if you have so many 3+ streams of income, that is great, because you're at a place where you can rely on a variety of sources rather than one. So that's number 6. Number 7 is to develop out a side business. Now this could be from any of these things that you've created. Remember way back when I think it was step 2 or 3 where we mentioned creating digital products. We could build that out to build an actual business, or even from last step, monetizing your existing assets or hobbies, like develop that out into a prosperous business. And again, these are just like framework steps. You would actually need a book and read it regarding building out a side business. And what I mean by a business here that differentiates what we've done before is that a business is, when I use that word, I mean it's like a business asset, meaning that you are not sacrificing your time for the money. So it is more passive. So in the Rich Dad Poor Dad book number 2, I'm forgetting the name, but it's the second book of this, and in this he talks about the cash flow quadrant. No, that's not what it's called. Anyways, there is a quadrant in this book, and it's split into 4 because it is a quadrant, and it outlines the different ways that you can make money and the different categories you could be in. So on one side of this quadrant is the 2 categories of employed and then self-employed. And on the other side of the quadrant, there is the category of business and investment. And business and investment is in a separate category from the other 2 because they are passive ways to make income. Now you might be wondering, what is the difference between a small business and a business? Like, why are they on separate sides of this quadrant? It's because a small business requires you either to be there with your physical body or your time or your energy, and you consistently need to put that in order to get money out. Whereas a business is something that works without you. You could literally turn your laptop off, not talk to anyone for months on end, and the business not only sustains itself, but actually grows and without you. That is a business that makes it passive. So when I say number 7 is to develop a side business, it means to either create something new, or ideally something based on what you have done small business-wise in the past, and use your experience from the employed experience that you've got, or the self-employed experience, and use that to create a business so that you have income more passive. That is number 7. Now, number 8 at this point is to automate and outsource, right? The majority of people who are looking into passive income specifically are interested in lifestyle freedom. Okay, you don't necessarily want to work your entire life and have to work in order to make the money. If you do, then you can just ignore number 8, but number 8 is going to be for most people, and that is to automate and outsource. By automate, I mean implementing different systems, structures within your business or within your life to save time, and to outsource, we mean to actually hire people for your business or people even in your life, like a cleaner, for example. That is outsourcing work that you have to do that you don't want to do. And finally, we're going to go into number 9, which is to create a long-term investment plan. This might necessarily need to be number 9. This probably could have came earlier in the process, but the reason why I put this in number 9 is because at this point you would have dabbled in a variety of different areas, garnered a few different experiences within this whole financial sphere. So you will be in a place where you are more secure and able to make decisions with regards to where you want to put your money long term. A long-term investment plan, and you will get this from reading financial books. If you want more financial book recommendations, just let me know in the comments and I will give you some. But throughout reading financial books, consistently what you will see in there is that an investment plan is something that is needing to fluctuate. It doesn't change based on markets or trends or the economy. An investment plan is a plan. It is something that is going to work and that you stick to every single month so that when you're retired, you have enough money to live the life that you want. And this plan is outside of your businesses. This plan is outside of your other, income and assets. For example, right now, I personally have a variety of different income sources, and I'm also working on a couple different things. I'm working on a business that I want to become a huge business at some point, and I have another business and other, real estate properties, etc. But I do have a long-term investment plan, and that one is more consistent and stable, and it is kind of my cushion to, if my plans with all my larger businesses and ideas were to fall through, which it won't, but worst comes to worst, everything stops, I stop working and nothing, which won't happen, but let's say that happened, I know that the investment that I have started is going to be consistent because I'm consistently putting an amount of money that I absolutely can afford to an account, let's say, so that by the time I'm 65, which is just ridiculous, I'm retiring way before then, but by the time I'm 65, even if worse comes to worse, I will have enough money to stop working and live the life that I want within me. So that is a long-term investment plan, and I know I said there was only going to be 9 steps in this video, but we are going to do a 10th one. It is a step, and this is to reinvest your profits. So at this point, you've learned a lot, you're dabbling in different things, and maybe the money you're putting into stocks is actually paying off, which it absolutely should because of dividends, etc. You can learn about that in a video that's not this one, but at this point you can be taking that money and reinvesting into more investments, into more assets. I didn't define what an asset is in this video, but if you have made it this far in this video, then you absolutely need to be reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and the very financial books because you're clearly very interested. Anyways, that is all for this video. It was a long one, but I enjoyed talking about it and really do hope that this brings someone value and that someone is watching up until this point, because if I had this video way back when and I watched it and I actually implemented it, I mean, it would have saved me a lot of time, a lot of headache, and I would probably be in a place even greater than I am now, but I'm happy where I am now. But all this to say, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, make sure to check out my other videos. I have playlists where I go into detail on all of this and so much more. And comment down a heart emoji if you made it this far. Comment down 3 hearts in a row because I want to differentiate you from people that just randomly leave heart emojis. And I will see you in my next video. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and let me know if you like a live video like this. Okay, See you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.